Neil, it might not be the way that you want your side to line up in months and the years ahead, but a decent point last week at Rochdale.
Yeah, on reflection, we knew that they'd probably have a bit more of the ball because they're going to play open, expansive. I sort of challenged myself as manager because, like I said in the pre-press, that there were 2 games where I thought, just before I came in, I think the Rochdale game was Mikey's last game, and then obviously the Ebbsfleet game Macca took, and both games I thought it could have been 6. It was like they were way above where the York City team was at the time. So I sort of challenged myself to try and test myself a little bit. Can we be more competitive? Can we show that we've moved forward? So obviously I've got a second challenge now this weekend on that.
Yeah, and listening to the post-match comments of the Rochdale manager afterwards, a little bit on Sunday actually after watching the game at Anfield where Jurgen Klopp comes out, we had all the possession and we were the only side trying to win this game. There is an art though in defending, isn't there, and trying to stop other teams scoring goals. I think that sometimes gets forgotten.
Yeah, but it's like, I never went to Rochdale going, let's try and get a 0-0 draw. Anyone who knows how to do that, please let me know, because I don't know how to do that. I went there going, our best chance of getting a result is to make sure that we don't go 1-0 down, 2-0 down, because like you say, we've had no depot, and we've got a lot of sort of them attacking options missing. So, I wanted to stay in the game and be in the game. And if that meant we were hard working without the ball, everyone knew their jobs. We knew how we were going to try and deal with their inverted fullbacks and their wingers staying wide and the qualities that they have. And I thought we did it very, very well by and large. And then you go, right, and with the ball, the game plan is X, Y and Z. Now you execute that, you might come away like the Filed game where you go brilliant without the ball, really good on the counter-attack, 1-2-0, and should have won the game. That's a great performance. It could have been that, but it wasn't because of the quality of us. So I can't actually make the quality exactly how it needs to be because that's football.
Is it slightly different this week though, because you're at home and you're expected to be on the front foot a little bit more?
Yeah, of course, absolutely. But again, it's still for me, it's 100% down to how is the best way for us to win this game. And if the best way for us to win the game is to play 4-4-2, I'm just saying, then I'll play it and I'll try and put a team out to play that system the way it needs to be played. If the best way to win the game isn't, then I'll come up with a different way. But that's where my homework on the opposition, experience and knowledge, hopefully can give us a better chance.
I'm sure you'll try and play down the importance of the game, but you can understand why supporters maybe feel that this game is a massive game. They
all are. I don't think, again, I go back to before I arrived, we was on 3 points after 7 games. And without Southend having their problems, we're bottom of the league. So I don't think there's any game we can afford to not be at our best or not give ourselves the best chance of getting something from the game. And I know because they're below us and you go, well, if you lose, you fall into the thing and it's a relegation fight, it's a 6-pointer, whatever it is. We've got to get a certain points total. And yeah, home to Ebbsfleet is probably a better chance for us than away to Chesterfield might be, but every game's absolutely vital, and I'm not going to over egg it and put pressure on myself and then let that feel down to the lads. I've got to get the lads to go out and try and perform with a really good game plan without the ball, respecting Ebbsfleet, but also understand how they're going to hurt.
And whether you're under pressure or not, I mean, the football club as a whole, the position you find yourselves in, Ebbsfleet are also under that same pressure, aren't they?
Yeah, of course they are. They've just got promoted. They want to stay up. If you look at the 4 teams that are down below us, have all just been promoted. When people think, "Oh, York will be fine, York will be fine," I hate that conversation because I actually look at the teams down there and I think they're good. I think Ebbsfleet play great football. I think Filed, there's several players in Filed's team where I go, I take them. They've got lots of pace, lots of athleticism. And I think they'll be all right. I might be wrong, but I think unless the pressure gets to them, they can get out of it, and so on and so forth. So, it's a tough league, and we really have to keep, grinding, and picking up points, and just making sure we just keep it going, because, we're never going to go where we just go on a massive upward curve. I hope we do, but it's not just going to go that easy. We're going to have to keep just chipping away and stay mentally strong.
I think they've only got 1 win in 14 of Ebbsfleet, but I think for many people that would be a shock win at Oldham a couple of weeks ago. So every side of this division does, as you rightly said, does have it in them to pull out performance.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you've got to be careful of is you've got to look at the qualities of your team. And if we had the qualities where we could just be open, expansive, had loads and loads of goals in us at the moment, free flowing, but you play that way because that suits the team. You've got the players you've got to let them express themselves. If you've got a team where if you fell 1-0 down, the anxiety of the stadiums, they're another thing. You've got to consider all of these things. You've got to make sure you're competitive, and I hate being defensive, as in setting my teams up to make sure we're in the game, but we've got the worst defensive record in the league, and every time Sam Allardyce used to go in at a team down the bottom, the first thing he said is, let's get the goals conceded bit right and we'll grow, and that's what we've been trying to do. I do believe, take away I think the Chesterfield game in that last 25 minutes or whatever, I do believe we have improved defensively. Teams aren't opening us up for fun, and it's just that balance, and you need the right players to be available, but it's balance of having quality and pace and power and your attacking flares along with the stability of the defence.
So what players have you got available this weekend?
God, what did I have available last week?
How's Depot?
Depot has trained today. First real day we had to do a sort of part session Tuesday with him. Trained today. Is Depot available to start the game? No. Could Depot be available to be 20 minutes? Let's see how he reacts to training today.
Adam Crooks?
Crooks is back training. Obviously he's missed a fair chunk with injury and re-injury, so it's just a case of getting his loads up. But being a centre half, you'd like to think once you've got his loads up, he should be able to cope should he be needed.
How's the injury that Callum Harriott picked up?
I don't think it's great. I think it's a grade 2 hamstring. And it's a strange one because the last injury that Callum Harriott came back from was his hamstring, and it was probably a 3.5 to 4 week injury that we took 6.5 to 7 weeks, making sure, did all the testing, did all the strength. We didn't want it to get re-injured. We took our time. We built his load up so that he could play 60 minutes. We gave him his first 60. We then built the load up so he could go to 70, and his hamstring's gone. So for us, we've done everything by the book, and it's very, very difficult when this happens, because obviously we've tested his strength, we've tested everything, and like I said before, he has had problems in the past. Unfortunately, they've come to light again.
The same hamstring?
I believe it's actually, I'm not 100% sure if it's the same spot or the same, but I do believe it's the same problem. But it's a grade 2.
Okay. Anyone else? No, we know about Dan Batty. Anybody else who's not available this weekend?
Levy still had problems with his back. I think where he had the fracture, I don't think it's there's a lot of inflammation around there, and I don't think it's quite where it needs to be. The back's always a difficult one because you're trying to do rehab work. There's not a lot you can do when you've got a lot of soreness around the back area. So we've got to get that settled down and right before we can start progressing him. Every time we've sort of tried to step him back up, it's flared up again. So yeah, difficult one with him.
Tyler Cordner, you said you wanted to see a response from him in training. Do you think you've seen that so far?
I would say that Tyler's having a go. I wouldn't say that he's not having a go. Like you say, one thing we're privy to now, massively, we're privy to stats, data.
There's no hiding.
There's no hiding for any players. So this isn't aimed at Tyler at all. This is aimed at all players. So we've now got live data to see work rate. If it's a dynamic work rate, sprint distance, if it's a centre forward, if it's that kind of stuff. We can see who's putting in the yards for the team, who's hitting the parameters we need from centre forwards. We can see. We've got the data now. We've got a new data recruitment guy, and we can model our players up against other players in the league and see where they fall down and whether they're in the top 10% in the areas we need our centre halves to be, or the bottom 15% of another area. So we've got all this data that helps us certainly helps me to look at it, look at my eyes, look at training, and marry everything up when I'm picking a team. Or there is no hiding place for anybody.
Yeah, I know, again, that's not just based at Tyler Cordner, but he's a player also on a longer term contract that spent a lot of money on the football club, and you, hopefully in months to come, he'll be a mainstay and someone you can build your team around.
Listen, that's down to me and Tyler Cordner, or me, Coxie Macca, and Tyler Cordner. So it's down to all of us. Everything's a two-way thing. Every relationship's a two-way thing. You can't build a relationship with someone who doesn't want to, and that's, again, not only this at Tyler, I'm talking about in general. And in the same vein, we can try and improve seeing danger, awareness, blah, blah, but the player's got to want to engage with it as well. So it's you talk about no matter what players, whether it's a young winger, whether it's a number 10, you can try and show them the stuff they need to progress and get better and get in your team. It's a two-way thing. Both parties have got to work hard at it.
start of, I was going to say a busy Christmas period, but it's actually not as busy this year as normal, as it isn't. You don't have the game in between Boxing Day and New Year's Day. Have you yet worked out how you're going to sort your workload out, especially, as you said, between this game at the weekend and then the Gateshead game?
Yeah, that's the toughest part of it. It's not a really ridiculously busy schedule, but the 23rd, 26th poses a problem. Really tough to sort of, even with pitches and wet pitches and stuff, it's just trying to work out, you play a game on a Saturday, the Sunday you really need to recover totally, but you actually need to do some work in between them two games to be able to know what your game plan is come what Boxing Day. So yeah, that's the biggest challenge, and then we've got a period of time where it's all about the loads and getting that right for the second game going into January. So yeah, it is a challenge, but it's one that hopefully we can pull off in these next two games.
Are you going to have the players all on Christmas Day, or are you going to give them time off?
Again, we are looking at that, and we're going to have a sit down and meeting with. It depends on availability of pitches, because if our pitches aren't trainable, then there's nowhere else that's going to open up their building to us on Christmas Day, which will make the decision for you. So there's lots of things we need to look at when it comes to that. But we're not sort of reacting to it. We've already planned videos. There's loads of ways to show and teach players what you want or what you expect. So we're kind of planning for every scenario. As
a football supporter, we all know everyone loves the fixtures over Christmas. As a player or a manager, do you love them as well?
Yeah, you get used to it. Christmas isn't football. Christmas isn't for football people. It's I've had it ever since I was 16. I left school. I've been playing a game on Boxing Day or involved in a squad or whatever, and then I've taken that on as a manager. So you manage Christmas the best way you can. I never used to understand people when they used to have a dry January or go on a diet in January, because I was like, well, I never needed to, because I didn't have time to sort of do anything I shouldn't have been doing. But you get your heads around it. As players, you go, look, any time I get with the family at Christmas is a bonus.
Are you able to enjoy it? I know obviously you're not a player now, so maybe you can enjoy it a little bit more than your players can. But will you enjoy this Christmas?
Yeah, I think I haven't spent hardly any time with my own kids, because I've been living up here and I've hardly been home. So the fact that I've got my two kids coming up to spend Christmas with me, that for me is, people go home to their family every day. I don't. So I'm up here without my children. So that will be a bonus for me. That will be something that I'll love and enjoy, certainly on Christmas Day. And but the whole time I'll probably be thinking, right, where am I going to put? Who am I going to play there? How am I going to deal with that? And be thinking about the Gateshead game.
Yeah, it'll be results driven. Merry Christmas. Hope you have enjoyed it.
And you, thank you.
Neal, after Rochdale, you said that the effort was 100%, but the quality was poor. Do you ever wonder that some players aren't capable of executing what you want?
Of course, you sort of wonder. Okay, I do. I've seen it before. Like I've just mentioned there. I talked about the Fylde game. The quality in the Fylde game was exceptional at times going forward, and we scored goals. So they are capable of it. It's sometimes you get games where the honesty within the group is so much. It's so there that they're saying, right, let's execute the game plan, let's make sure we don't let my teammates down, which I think the people on the pitch certainly did. And then you've got to transfer quickly into, right, I'm a player now and I've got to thread that pass and I've got to make a run, and if you can't quite get both right, the quality sometimes goes. So you can forgive sometimes a lack of quality. What you can't forgive is what we had in the Nantwich game, which was people not doing jobs, people not picking up markers from set pieces, people not tracking runners. That was, for me, that's the York City of old, I hope.
How much do the players put pressure on each other to execute better?
Yeah, they do demand, and I always say to the players, if you want to get stuck into each other, you should be able to get stuck into each other. You're all there for the same reason, and back in my day, I can assure you that getting stuck in had a slightly different meaning than it does nowadays, and I do think people don't take it as well nowadays, but I just said, do it the right way. Demand of each other, push each other. But I think if somebody's trying to make something happen and they can't execute it right, you've got to forgive that. They don't mean to. If somebody don't track a runner or don't put their foot in at the right time, that's not forgivable, because that's in your control. So I always try and work with the boys on, forgive the things people are trying to do right, but don't forgive, the lack of effort or the lack of, team spirit.
Fans have earmarked Ebbsfleet as a must-win game. They've won 1 in 13, I think. But how do you take the pressure off the players? Because you want them to play with freedom, don't you?
Yeah, I try not to even talk about the importance of the game or something. This is Ebbsfleet. This is what they're really good at. This is how they're going to play. This is our game plan. This is what we've got to do to give ourselves the best chance. And that's all we can do, is give ourselves the best chance of getting the result we want. And then if players are just focused on that and not the outcome, the performance, and I always say don't let the result affect the performance. If players are focusing on the performance, hopefully the result follows on from the performance. Whereas if they're focusing on the result, we need to win, then that middle bit might not happen.
Recently, Jurgen Klopp said that on match day, 11 players love me. People on the bench maybe like me, the rest hate me, but they know they've got a chance the following week. Is that the same with you?
I'm sure there's a lot of them that hate me. I think some of them are on my staff. No, I always say that, listen, what is well documented. We've got quite a large squad, or we've had quite a large squad. It's impossible. It's an impossible job to keep people happy, and that's why when we go back to the Nantwich game, you've got a lot of people chomping at the bit, and they're fit, they've been training for a while, they're desperate to play, and you go, there you go, otherwise when's the opportunity when you're going to do that? So we do our best, but I know I'm not stupid, there's a lot of people that wouldn't be happy with me, but and it comes back to what I say in the press, and I say it on the training field, and I say it to players, I've got to be able to trust you. And the way you train, the way you apply yourself, the way you focus on what the team needs, and I always say selfless, not selfish. If you focus on the team and what you need to give to the team, it gives me a better chance of trusting you, and then your abilities, your skills can come off the back of that. But we can't have that sort of roller coaster of you might get something, you might not, because of the position we're in.
You've indicated Depo's not going to start against Ebbsfleet. If you're a couple of goals up and there's 10 minutes or 20 minutes to go, you're tempted just not to bring him on at all and save him for Gateshead?
It's difficult. You're either better off not putting him in the squad and getting even more load and work into his legs Friday, Saturday, and just starting to prepare him that way, or you put him in because you go, we might need him. And then even then, somebody coming back from a hamstring injury, it's probably not ideal when they've been sitting on the bench to come off with a hamstring injury and warm up. So there's so much to it. I know the fans will be like, no, put him on the bench, we want that option. And I want that option. I want to look at the bench and go, right, I can change the game here. There's nothing worse than looking on the bench going, I've got no way of changing this game. So you need them options. We're weighing up, we're talking sports science team, we're talking about, even if we do have him on the bench, if he has come through unscathed, and he's like, how do we make sure that the warm-up prior to the 20 minutes he might come on for is the demands of it are the right way, because obviously the sports scientist can't go down the end of by the corner flag and run up and down with him because he's not allowed to. So we've got to, what players are like, they'll go down, they'll just start stretching and standing, so you've got to try and find a way of getting all of the balance right. But in an ideal world, you've got good players available to you to bring on.
Away from the pitch, you've been part of the Heart of the Community Winter campaign. How much is giving something back important to you and the club as well?
I think from the owner's perspective, I know that they're really big on trying to, York's a wonderful city. It's been a lovely place to live and spend time, and good people. So to be able to, I think any football club, any sports club, should always be a big part of the community, and it shouldn't just be at Christmas. I know it's the token, Christmas presents, Christmas. It should be all year round, and I've spoken to the foundation and Paula and stuff, and I just said, look, whatever you need from the players, as long as you give us notice, we'll put a spreadsheet together, they'll be available, and we'll make sure that they go and they engage. I really enjoy it. I went and did a hospital or a centre just over a week ago, and I had a great time. I mean, one of the kids kept calling me the Grinch. I don't know why, I don't think I look like him, but she loved it. From the moment I walked in to the moment I left, she called, that was it, I was the Grinch in her eyes, and it's fun. Just to see a smile on their face, see something different, for me is important. The hospital visit, the amount of kids that pulled a present out of the bag and loved it, it's magical. And Christmas gives you the opportunity, but we should be doing more all year round, and I'm sure we will.
Absolutely. Happy Christmas.
Thank you.
Ebbsfleet, sitting just below York City, played a game more. A real opportunity to give yourselves a cushion. between the bottom four and the rest.
Yeah, I try not to look at it that way. I know you guys, your job's to look at the league table. The only thing that really matters is on game 46. And the only way we're going to get there is to keep accumulating points on a steady basis. Ebbsfleet were probably in the top 8 early on in the season, like you say, everyone won in whatever it's 14, and that's the sort of run we need to make sure that we guard against. I think in our last 6 games, I think we've got 9 points in 6 games. I think we've won 2, drawn 3 and lost 1. And you kind of go, well, if you can kind of keep maintaining even that sort of level of form, it will get you beyond a points total where you should be safe. So it's that consistency that I focus on, and it's always heading towards the 46 games. Because if you react to, we dropped into the bottom 4, we're out the bottom 4, then I'm just as bad as everyone else that's emotional.
You spoke previously about the difficulty bringing anybody in around Christmas. How optimistic are you to bring anybody in January?
Well, I've just left the recruitment meeting and I'm about to go back into one. I'm very optimistic that we will be able to, but we're not going to be bringing in 5s and 6s and 7s. We've kind of set our head on maybe 2 or 3 really important ones, and then see what evolves on the rest of the squad after that as to what we might need. But we're doing a lot of work on it, and we believe that we can add some quality.
Leading on from that then, any news on players out on loan? And will you be recalling any of those
again,
in January?
I think it's a similar thing. Bringing in over Christmas, getting out over Christmas is a difficult scenario. So it's really weird because although it shouldn't be this way, if you think about the transfer window being January for most clubs, it's almost like a domino effect. January is almost like not a mid-season break, but it's like that point where people assess where they are at their clubs, where they're not. The domino effect starts, people bring in, people go out, and before you know it, it's a better time for somebody to go, I'm not going to get a look in here, my contract's up in the summer, I need to play, and it's almost like that reset for some people. So I do think a lot more will happen. And that might be both at our club with 1 or 2 players going, okay, I might not be getting a look in, let me go out and get some game time. But, again, we can only try and put everything in place for that. It's the players and their agents will make decisions.
Leading on from that then, halfway point of the season almost, are you optimistic for the second half of the season?
I think it will get better. I think it has to get better. If you think, like I say, we'll go back to where we started from, 3 points in 7 games. And where we've got to now, I think if we can maintain that consistency of points per game, add a bit of quality and do that, then the likelihood is that we can go in the right direction and get up that table and not be looking over our shoulder. But on the flip side, I've said how good I think some of the teams are down there, and now I think they can do the same. So you just can't take anything for granted. But I do believe we're starting to get fitter, stronger, more organised, and slightly better, but we need to be a lot more better.
Just last one from me, the York Hospital visit the other day, you just mentioned that. Kids obviously enjoyed it from the pictures I've seen. How important is it to York City Football Club, those sort of visits? Massive.
Every sports club, football club in every city should be big in the community. It should be, but back in the day before, everybody from London supported Man United and such things, it used to just be you supported the team where you was born and you was around, and obviously that's slightly changed now. But York's a one city football club. Why wouldn't you be massively giving back to the community and being active in the community and making sure that people around, the new generation loves York City because that's where they grew up and they've met the players and they've come into their schools and they've done this, and that's a massive thing that this club should be doing.